My ex wants me back. Give me one reason to stay with you instead, she said during dinner. I asked, can you give me one to stay with you? Paid my half of the bill and left. A few days later, she appeared at my doorstep crying. Hey viewers, before we move on to the video, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button if you want to see more stories like this. Thanks. I should have seen the writing on the wall the moment the word boring started slipping into her vocabulary. It wasn't an accusation at first, it was a descriptor. She'd use it for things I considered responsible. My 401k strategy was boring. My preference for cooking a high-quality meal at home instead of waiting in line at a loud, overpriced club was boring. My insistence on paying off my car early was boring. Vanessa and I had been together for 3 years. For the first 2, my stability was exactly what she claimed she wanted. She had come from a string of chaotic, toxic relationships with men who treated her like an option. I treated her like a priority. I helped her refinance her student loans. I was the guy who picked her up from the airport at 2 a.m. without complaining. I was the guy who listened to her vent about her toxic coworkers for hours. But somewhere around the 3-year mark, the peace I provided stopped looking like a sanctuary and started looking like a cage. The ghost in our relationship had a name, Dylan. Dylan was her ex from college. From what I'd gathered over the years, Dylan was a disaster. He was spontaneous, which is code for unreliable. He was passionate, which is code for emotionally volatile. He had cheated on her twice, borrowed money he never paid back, and eventually dumped her via text message to go backpack through Europe. For years, she spoke of him with disdain, but in the last 2 months, the tone had shifted. Dylan's back in the city, she mentioned casually one night while scrolling through Instagram. He started his own branding agency. Looks like he's finally growing up. I didn't think much of it then, but the comparison started a week later. Dylan just bought a loft downtown, she said while we were watching a movie. It's so industrial. Exposed brick, floor-to-ceiling windows. It's got so much character, unlike this place. I looked around my apartment. It was a clean, modern 2-bedroom in a good neighborhood. It was immaculate. What's wrong with this place? I asked. She sighed, that heavy theatrical sigh she'd perfected recently. Nothing, it's just safe. You know, it's exactly what everyone expects. It's beige. That was the word of the month. Safe, beige, predictable. The red flag started waving violently last Tuesday. We were sitting on the couch and her phone buzzed. She snatched it off the cushion with the reflexes of a fighter pilot. She angled the screen away from me, typed a quick response, and flipped the phone face down on her thigh. Who was that? I asked, keeping my voice neutral. Just work, she said. She didn't look at me. Sarah is having a crisis with the vendor. Sarah, her assistant, had quit 3 weeks ago. I didn't call her out. I didn't scream. I just felt a cold, hard knot form in my stomach. It was the realization that I was no longer a partner. I was a placeholder. I was the insurance policy she was holding on to while she shopped for a better rate. I decided to test the waters one last time. I made reservations at Lavelle, a French bistro she had been dying to try for months. It was expensive, the kind of place you go to celebrate an engagement or a major promotion. I wanted to see if the effort still mattered to her or if she was too far gone. Friday night arrived. I wore the suit she used to say made me look like James Bond. She wore a stunning black dress, but her energy was frantic. In the Uber, she checked her phone 4 times. She didn't ask about my day. She didn't comment on the restaurant. We sat down. The ambiance was romantic. Low light, candles, soft jazz. Perfect for a couple in love. Perfect for a breakup, too. She ordered the most expensive wine on the list without asking me. She drank the first glass quickly, her eyes darting around the room as if looking for an exit or an audience. By the time the appetizers arrived, the silence between us was so thick it felt physical. I decided to break it. You seem distracted, Ness, I said, cutting into my tartare. Is everything okay? She put her fork down. She took a deep breath, and for a second I thought she was going to apologize for being distant. I thought she might say she was stressed or anxious. Instead, she looked me dead in the eye, her expression frighteningly calm. "I need to be honest with you," she said. "I've been talking to Dylan." I stopped eating. I carefully placed my knife and fork on the edge of the plate. I didn't speak. I just waited. The lack of reaction seemed to unsettle her. She wanted a fight. She wanted me to raise my voice so she could call me controlling. When I didn't, she had to keep talking to fill the void. "He reached out a few weeks ago," she continued, her voice gaining a strange, arrogant confidence. "He apologized for everything in the past. He's changed, Mark. He's doing really well. He's got this energy about him now. It's magnetic. He wants us to try again. He says he never stopped thinking about me." She paused, taking a sip of wine. She was watching me closely, checking for jealousy. "Okay," I said. My voice was flat. "Why are you telling me this here?" She leaned forward, her elbows on the table. This was the moment, the pitch. "Because I'm confused," she said. Though she didn't look confused, she looked empowered. "I care about you, Mark, I really do. You're great, you're reliable, you're safe. But Dylan, he's a risk. He's excitement. He makes me feel alive in a way you just don't." She sat back, crossing her arms, creating a physical barrier between us. "So here's the situation," she said as casually as if she were choosing between the salmon and the steak. "He wants me back. I have to make a choice, but I feel like I owe you a chance to advocate for yourself. So give me a reason." I blinked. "Excuse me?" "Give me a reason to stay with you instead of him," she repeated slowly, enunciating every word like I was a child. "Tell me why I should pick you. Sell me on us. Because right now, safe isn't winning." The audacity of it actually took my breath away for a split second. She was conducting an auction for her affection in the middle of a crowded restaurant. She honestly believed she was such a high-value prize that I would start listing my qualifications, begging her to see my worth, competing with a ghost from her past who had treated her like garbage. She expected me to plead. She expected me to say, "But I love you. I pay for everything. I'm loyal." Something inside me snapped. It wasn't a loud snap. It was a quiet, final click, like a door locking. I looked at her. I really looked at her. I saw the entitlement in her eyes. I saw the lack of empathy. I saw a woman who viewed relationships as transactions and people as stepping stones. I reached for my napkin and wiped my mouth. "You want a reason?" I asked softly. She smirked, thinking she had won. "Yes, give me one reason." I signaled the waiter. He came over immediately. "Check, please," I said. Vanessa frowned. "Mark, we haven't even ordered mains yet. Don't be dramatic." The waiter dropped the black folder on the table. I opened it. The bill was $140. The wine she ordered was $80 of that. I pulled out my wallet. I took out three $20 bills and a 10. $70. Exactly half. I placed the cash on the table, right on top of the receipt. I stood up. "Mark!" Her voice pitched up, a mix of confusion and annoyance. "What are you doing?" I looked down at her. She looked small suddenly. "You asked me to give you a reason to stay with me," I said, my voice loud enough for the tables nearby to hear, but calm enough to show zero emotion. And I realized something. "What?" she snapped. "Can you give me one reason to stay with you?" Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. She was stunned. The question hadn't even occurred to her. "I offer loyalty, stability, and respect," I said, buttoning my suit jacket. "You offer confusion, comparison, and an ex-boyfriend you're texting under the table. I'm not competing for a job I already have, Vanessa, and I'm certainly not competing for a position that's already filled." "You can't just leave," she hissed, her face turning red as she noticed people looking. "You can't leave me here with the bill." "I paid my half," I said. "You wanted independence and excitement. Paying for your own $80 bottle of wine is pretty exciting. Call Dylan. Maybe he'll pick up the tab." I turned around and walked toward the exit. "Mark!" she shrieked. "If you walk out that door, we are done. Do you hear me? Done!" I didn't look back. I pushed through the heavy glass doors and stepped out into the cool night air. I checked my pulse. It was slow, steady. I took my phone out of my pocket, opened her contact, and hesitated. Blocking her now would be too easy. It would look like I was hurt. I didn't want to look hurt. I wanted to look indifferent. I put the phone back in my pocket and hailed a cab. I was done. But I had a feeling she was just getting started. The silence lasted exactly 20 minutes. That was how long it took for her to realize I wasn't waiting outside the restaurant and that I wasn't coming back to pay the rest of the bill. I was back at my apartment, calmly folding her clothes into a cardboard box I'd grabbed from the recycling bin, when my phone started vibrating against the coffee table. It wasn't a call. It was a barrage of texts. Vanessa, 8:43 p.m. Are you serious right now? Vanessa, 8:44 p.m. You are actually psychotic. Everyone is staring at me. Vanessa, 8:46 p.m. Come back here and pay for this. My card got declined. You know I don't get paid until Friday. This is financial abuse. I stared at the screen. Financial abuse? That was rich coming from someone who had just tried to leverage her ex-boyfriend to negotiate a better relationship contract with me. I didn't reply. I didn't block her either. In situations like this, documentation is everything. I took a screenshot of the texts, specifically the one where she admitted her card was declined. It proved she had ordered an $80 bottle of wine with zero intention or ability to pay for it herself. I finished packing her things. It didn't take long. For 3 years she had slowly moved into my life. But looking at the box, she hadn't actually brought much value into it. Just clutter, high-end skincare products I paid for, clothes she bought to impress other people, and a few framed photos of us where she looked great. And I was out of focus. I placed the box outside my front door, snapped a picture of it, and sent it to her. Me, 9:15 p.m. Image attachment. Your things are outside. Do not ring the bell. Her response was immediate and vitriolic. Vanessa, 9:16 p.m. I hate you. You're insecure, jealous, and boring. Dylan is picking me up. He treats me like a queen. Enjoy your sad, lonely life. I put the phone on Do Not Disturb, poured myself a whiskey, and slept better than I had in months. The smear campaign started the next morning. This is the part of the breakup manual narcissists love the most. If they can't control you, they try to control how others see you. I woke up to 3 missed calls and a long text from Emily, Vanessa's best friend. Emily and I had always been cool. I'd helped her move apartments twice, but clearly the narrative had been spun. Emily, 10:00 a.m. I can't believe you. Vanessa just called me crying. She said you screamed at her in the middle of a restaurant, threw money in her face, and abandoned her there because she mentioned an old friend. I thought you were a nice guy, Mark. Clearly I was wrong. You need to apologize to her, now. I sighed. Vanessa had left out the ultimatum. Of course she had. In her version, she was the victim of a jealous tyrant, not a woman who tried to initiate a bidding war for her affection. I could have ignored it, but the professional in me knew that letting a lie spread unchecked damages your reputation. I didn't get emotional. I didn't defend my character. I just presented the evidence. Me, 10:05 a.m. Hi, Emily. That's an interesting version of events. Here is what actually happened. She told me she wanted to get back with her ex, Dylan. She asked me to give her a reason to choose me over him. I declined to participate in the competition. I paid exactly 50% of the bill and left. She is free to be with him now. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Emily was typing, deleting, and retyping. The cognitive dissonance was hitting her hard. Me, 10:07 a.m. Also, she texted me last night saying Dylan was picking her up and treating her like a queen, so she shouldn't be crying. She got exactly what she wanted. Emily never replied. I found out later she screenshotted my text and sent it to their group chat, asking Vanessa if it was true. Vanessa reportedly had a meltdown, claiming I was twisting her words, but the seed of doubt was planted. Her friends knew I wasn't a liar. For the next 3 days, I became a ghost. I went to work, I hit the gym, I ate clean. Vanessa, on the other hand, went on a PR blitz. Since I hadn't blocked her on Instagram yet, I wanted to see the timeline for safety reasons. I saw the show she was putting on. It was pathetic. Post 1. Sunday morning. A photo of 2 coffees and a bagel tagged at a trendy cafe. The caption read, "Finally with someone who matches my energy, upgrade now at new chapter." A male hand with a distinctive tattoo was visible holding the other cup. Dylan. Post 2. Monday night. A blurry video from inside a club. She was dancing, holding a bottle of vodka with a sparkler in it. The caption read, "Living my best life, no more holding back." She was trying to provoke a reaction. She wanted me to view her stories so she could see my name on the list. She wanted to know I was watching. I didn't give her the satisfaction. I used an anonymous story viewer site to check her page. To her, I had vanished off the face of the earth. But if you looked closely at the posts, you could see the cracks. In the coffee photo, she wasn't smiling. She was pouting at the camera. The club video was on a Monday night. Who goes clubbing on a Monday unless they are desperately trying to prove they are having fun? And then there was the Dylan factor. I knew Dylan's reputation. He was a love bomber. He would shower a girl with attention for a week, get what he wanted, usually money, sex, or a place to crash, and then get bored. Vanessa had just handed him a victory. She left her stable, boring boyfriend for him. His ego was fed, but ego is a fast-burning fuel. On Wednesday, 5 days after the dinner, the silence broke. But it wasn't a text from Vanessa. It was a DM from a guy I knew vaguely. A friend of Dylan's named Mike. We had met at a few parties years ago. Mike. Yo, man. Weird question. Are you and Vanessa done? Me. Yeah. Why? Mike. Okay, cool. Just checking. He followed up a minute later. Mike. She's been crashing at Dylan's place since Friday and it's getting intense. I think she thinks they're dating. Dylan told us she's just a placeholder until his actual girl gets back from her internship in London next week. Just thought you should know before it gets messy. I stared at the phone. A placeholder. The irony was so sharp it could cut glass. She had called me a placeholder. She had called me safe. And all along, she was just a warm body for Dylan to use while he waited for his real relationship to resume. She had burned her house down to chase a mirage. I thanked Mike and put the phone down. I didn't warn her. Why would I? She wanted excitement. She wanted risk. She was about to get a lifetime supply of both. The crash happened 48 hours later. I was sitting on my balcony reading a book when my phone lit up. Vanessa, 11:42 p.m. Mark. Vanessa, 11:45 p.m. Are you awake? Vanessa, 11:50 p.m. Please answer. It's an emergency. I didn't answer. Vanessa, 12:05 a.m. He kicked me out. He's a monster. I have nowhere to go. My parents are out of town. Please, I just need a place to sleep. I took a sip of my water. The professional in me analyzed the request. A tenant who had violated the lease, caused property damage, and voluntarily vacated the premises was now asking for re-entry. Application denied. I turned off my phone and went to bed. The knocking started at 7 a.m. on a Saturday. It wasn't a polite, sorry to bother you knock. It was a frantic, desperate pounding that shook the doorframe. I was already awake, brewing coffee, enjoying the silence of an apartment that no longer smelled like her overly sweet perfume. I checked the peephole. Vanessa was standing there. She looked nothing like the arrogant woman in the black dress from last Friday. She was wearing gray sweatpants that were too short for her, a stained hoodie that I recognized as one of Dylan's, and she was soaked. It wasn't raining outside, which meant she had been crying or sweating profusely. Her hair was matted. Her mascara had carved black rivers down her cheeks. She looked like a wreck. She looked like consequences. I unlocked the door but didn't open it fully. I stood in the doorway, blocking the entrance with my body. I held my mug of coffee in one hand, a physical barrier between her chaos and my peace. "Mark," she choked out. Her voice was cracked raw. "Oh my God, thank you. I didn't think you'd open." She moved to step inside, assuming the old dynamic was still in play. She assumed I was still the safety net, the guy who fixes things. I didn't move. I stayed planted like a statue. She bumped into my shoulder and stopped, confused. "Mark," she whispered, "let me in, please. I'm freezing." "You can't come in, Vanessa," I said. My voice was calm, conversational, not angry, just factual. She blinked, wiping her nose with the sleeve of the dirty hoodie. What? Mark, stop. I'm serious. Dylan, he's crazy. He threw my bag out on the street. He laughed at me. He told me I was... She sobbed, a jagged, ugly sound. He told me I was just a warm-up for his girlfriend. Can you believe that? She looked at me with wide, pleading eyes, expecting me to share in her outrage. She wanted me to be angry for her. She wanted me to say, that bastard, come in, I'll take care of you. I can believe it, I said. Dylan has always been exactly who he is. You just didn't want to see it because you were too busy comparing me to him. I know, she wailed. I was stupid. I was confused. He manipulated me, Mark. He got in my head. He made me think we had this connection, but it was all a lie. You were right. You were right about everything. She reached out to grab my hand. I pulled it back calmly. I'm sorry, she rushed on, the words tumbling out now. I'm so sorry about the dinner. I was drunk. I was stressed. I didn't mean any of it. I love you. You're the only one who ever actually treated me like a human being. Please, she begged. Just let me come in, take a shower, and we can talk. We can fix this. I promise I'll never speak to him again. I'll block him right now. Look. She fumbled for her phone, her hands shaking. Vanessa, I interrupted. Stop. She froze. You aren't listening, I said. There is nothing to fix. You didn't break a vase. You didn't forget an anniversary. You fired me. I didn't fire you, she protested. I was just... You auditioned me, I corrected. You sat there, ate the food I was paying for, and told me I had to compete for your loyalty. You told me I was boring and safe and that you wanted excitement. Well, look at you. I gestured vaguely at her disheveled state. You got excitement. You got drama. You got the roller coaster you wanted. You're standing on a doorstep at 700 a.m. crying because a toxic guy treated you like trash. That is the most exciting thing that has happened to you in years. Congratulations. Her face crumbled. The sorrow vanished, replaced by a flash of that familiar narcissistic rage. You're being cruel, she spat. This isn't you. You're supposed to be the nice guy. You're supposed to support me. I was the nice guy, I agreed. And you told me that wasn't enough. You told me nice was boring, so I'm trying something new. Mark, I have nowhere to go, she screamed. My parents are in Florida. My friends are all sick of hearing about this. I have no money. Do you want me to sleep on the street? That sounds like a logistical problem, I said. And since I'm no longer your partner, it's not my problem to solve. After 3 years, she whispered, playing her final card, the guilt card. 3 years meant nothing to you. They meant everything to me, I said. And for the first time, I let a little bit of the pain show. Just enough so she knew it was real. I was building a life for us. I was saving for a ring. I was planning a future. But you weren't building with me, Vanessa. You were just waiting in the lobby until something better came along. You didn't leave because of 3 years. You left because you thought you found an upgrade. You came back because the upgrade failed. I took a sip of my coffee. I'm not the backup plan. I'm not the safety school you settle for when you don't get into Harvard. I'm the prize, and you lost me. She stared at me. She finally saw it. There was no anger in my eyes anymore. There was no jealousy. There was just indifference. I looked at her the way you look at a stranger who knocked on the wrong door. Here, I said. I reached into my pocket and pulled out a $20 bill. This is for a cab to Emily's place. I'm sure she'll take you in if you tell her the truth this time. I held it out. She stared at the money with disgust, then snatched it from my hand. I hate you, she hissed. You think you're so perfect. You're going to die alone. Maybe, I said, but I'll die in a peaceful house that I paid for without anyone checking their phone under the dinner table. I stepped back. Goodbye, Vanessa. I closed the door. I locked the deadbolt. Click. I leaned my forehead against the cool wood for a second, listening. I heard her sob once, loudly. Then I heard the elevator ding. Then silence. Epilogue. The upgrade. 6 months later, I was at a coffee shop downtown working on my laptop. Life had been quiet, peaceful. My savings account was growing. My skin cleared up. I had started dating a woman named Claire, an architect who thought my boring financial planning was incredibly sexy and who never, ever compared me to an ex. I saw Vanessa. She was walking past the window. She looked better than she had on my doorstep. clean clothes, hair done. But she looked tired. She was walking with the guy who was shouting into his phone, ignoring her completely. She was trailing behind him, carrying 2 heavy shopping bags, looking at the back of his head with a mixture of annoyance and resignation. It wasn't Dylan. It was just another version of him. Another exciting project she was trying to fix. Another chaotic man she had chosen over peace. She turned her head and saw me through the glass. Our eyes locked. I didn't wave. I didn't smile. I didn't frown. I just looked at her, then looked back down at my laptop and continued typing. In that moment, I realized the title of my own story had changed. It wasn't about her betrayal anymore. It wasn't about the dinner. It was about the reason I gave myself to leave. She wanted a reason to stay. I never gave her one, but she gave me the greatest gift possible. She showed me exactly who she was before I signed the contract for life. I took a sip of my coffee. It was black, simple, and exactly how I liked it. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. What do you think about this story? Share it in the comments.